Hey, Mind, Body, Spirit community. I'm Courtney Riley. I'm one of the co hosts of the Virtual Summit, and today we are so blessed to have with us Catherine Sherwenka. Catherine is a change maker, a space holder, a passionate woman that feels we are here on the planet to help each other grow, evolve, and step outside of our comfort zones, stretching our limits, limiting beliefs, and be happy while doing it. Wow. Catherine is a yogini, a meditator, a friend, an auntie, a a hula hooper, a teacher, a mentor, a facilitator, and guide to many people across the entire globe, truly the entire globe. And her passion is to watch people shift, transform, elevate, and step into their real, authentic selves. And most recently, in the past 7 years, she's lived in India, Bali, and all across North America, teaching and facilitating Kundalini yoga classes, retreats, and potent workshops on how to live in a more authentic life from space of freedom, courage, and grace, while dropping the stress, anxiety, and social pressures that come along with life. Catherine also feels this allows us to step more powerfully into our innate mastery as the change makers we are meant to be before we were told what we should be and who we should be. One of Catherine's favorite mottos or mantras in life is that life is meant to be experienced, so let's truly live it. So Catherine, oh my gosh, you could speak on so much, and we had to then in our conversations, hone it a little bit. So today we're focusing on self-empowerment through awareness, breath, and primal energy Kundalini. Before we tend to this this super juicy topic, which it is, Catherine, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey on the yogic kind of mind, body, spirit path, and before you entered it, your entry into it, and now.
Thanks, Courtney. Really happy to be here with everybody and to share my passions and things that have profoundly transformed and changed my world. It's kind of my inspiration these days, is looking back and seeing where I was 20 years ago, and when yoga, meditation, mindfulness entered my world, how much transformation has happened since then. Mm-hmm. And it's inspired me so much that it's all I want to do is inspire others to bring these components into their reality, into their day-to-day life, and receive the profound effects that has. Mm-hmm. So I just want to give a little background on who I am, where I came from. And I, in my 20s, lived in Manhattan, New York. I was a celebrity hairstylist and ran $1 million business, very successful, had a lot of external material wealth, a lot of significance, name and fame, and really from the outside looking in, it looked like the American dream life. Mm-hmm. And yet I was kind of shocked to find myself feeling the most disconnected, the most stressed. I had anxiety. I felt depressed. And it didn't make sense to me, because everybody said if you have this, and this, you're going to be so happy. It's the American dream. Mm-hmm. I had attained all that, and I was not happy. I did yoga. I've done yoga since I was young. My mom's a yogini. I was blessed to grow up around it. And I did yoga in my 20s as kind of it's what you're supposed to do to be healthy thing, which I find a lot of us get into that rut of we're just doing what we think we're supposed to do because that's what we're told is going to make us healthy and happy. And we're not really embodying or feeling it so much. Mm-hmm. So that was me, and was engaged to be married, little fairy tale life going on, and 9/11 hit. And 9/11 awoke a very deep inner journey for me. And looking back, I'm very grateful for it. It was not easy, but it contributed to my now being a one consciousness transformer for O&O Academy, the school that I go to in India, a facilitator of women's retreats that I do all over the planet. And most recently, it's brought me to Las Vegas, which Um, it brought me to Las Vegas to guide and lead people from the 1 October incident in meditation and offering them tools and ways in which they can navigate through this tragedy that they just went through with ease and grace. And it's amazing to me because I feel like this cycle, this circle, this completion thing is happening for me on many levels right now. But one being, I was in Manhattan, New York for 9/11. I had some tools, but nothing like I have now. And because of that tragedy in Manhattan, I literally dropped my entire life there. I sold my business and I left and I moved to Montana to go become an acupuncturist. And there began my inner journey. And now to find myself in Las Vegas after 17 years of training and doing a lot of deep inner work, and now I'm being given the gift to help these people navigate through this, and hopefully so that they don't have to give up their entire life and drop everything that they've worked so hard for because of the stress, the anxiety, the depression, and so on.
Yeah.
So.
Oh. It is amazing too when, you know, we can have these instances in our lives that can so dismantle our life, and it's often in that dismantling where the true awakening begins. And so I love, you know, what you're sharing about, like, oh wow, if I had had these tools, right? If I had access to this, and now look, oh, I get to be a facilitator to gift this to people. That's truly awesome. And it's inspiring to think that right now, hopefully there's some people, maybe they're in a certain space in their lives where they go, gosh, how can I have access to something that's greater, something that's going to help me pull through this anxiety or fear or confusion. And you know, Catherine, I know you have some amazing tools for them. So I love, you know, how you talk so frequently about how we have a power to like really change our state of being, and you can do it in a moment. And so with can you talk a little bit about first the yoga and the style that you actually teach so that people have an understanding of that?
With that.
Yeah.
So I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher, and like I said, I've done yoga all my life. I did a teacher training in Iyengar. I did a teacher training in Anusara. Mm-hmm. Love those traditions. Powerful, beautiful, amazing. And yet I just kept kind of moving along on my path of yoga and window shop. You know, a lot of us window shop. It's a way of staying more on the surface than having to drop in. And 10 years ago, probably, I heard about Kundalini yoga. Actually, what happened is I was with a dear friend of mine who's another teacher facilitator, and I was doing my Anusara practice. Yeah. She was next to me doing all these repetitive movements and breath of fire. And I'm watching her and I'm like, what is she doing? And she has her timer going. I'm like, what is that? And we finish our practice.
That's yoga? Like what? Right. Yeah.
We finish our practice and I'm like, Hillary, what was that? And she's like, it's Kundalini yoga. That looks pretty powerful. She's like, I'll send you some kriyas. I'm like, kriyas? What are those? So she emails me these kriyas, which are, I like to look at them as a recipe to create a certain effect or to get a certain result. It's a science. I mean, Kundalini yoga is a science and technology that is brilliant, and there's thousands of different meditations and kriyas to help us with anything from stress and anxiety to physical problems in our body to internal problems, like if we're having digestive issues. You could literally Google Kundalini yoga digestive issue and some kind of exercise or meditation will pop up for you. And so anyway, 7 years ago, I was in Rishikesh, India, did my teacher training there. And what I love about Kundalini, I love so many things about Kundalini Yoga, but it builds strength, power, courage, and grace from inside. Whereas in a lot of my other practices, and I know a lot of it was me, it's not the tradition, but I was all about like outer strength and trying to kind of push my way through things using my physical strength. Kundalini Yoga for me, because of the breath work, there's a lot of breath work involved, a lot of observation of the mind and the thoughts. And then there is the physical component, but that's almost last on the list because you're building this fire, this strength from inside yourself, which then emits and transmits out into the world. So I love Kundalini Yoga. It's a very powerful practice. And I see great transformation in people when they commit to it and how it can transform one's mind, body, and consciousness.
Can you share a little bit about like what Kundalini is, like what primal energy, you call it primal energy, right? In your training. Can you talk about what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kundalini energy, a lot of people when they hear the word Kundalini, they're like scared and put off. And
there's
what
like a
is
serpent going up my back and internally.
Scary. But it's a Sanskrit word that literally means energy. And for most of us as human beings, it lies dormant in the base of our spine and never really gets activated. But through practices, breath work, some yoga, the intention behind the breath work, let's say, or the yoga, is to awaken that energy, the Kundalini energy, this primal energy, life force that is so powerful, to awaken it in the base of our spine so that it can start to move up the spine and eventually through the crown of the head. But between, the base of your spine through the crown of your head, there's 7 energy centers, which people call chakras. And this Kundalini energy, once it gets activated, slowly starts to move up the spine, and it also starts to activate the chakra, which that's a whole workshop in itself. Right. Yeah. Each chakras have different qualities to them, and it's very necessary that they're kind of healthy and activated, and the Kundalini energy helps make that happen. Mm-hmm. Some people relate Kundalini energy to sexual energy. Even when you have like an adrenaline rush, that's similar to what Kundalini energy will feel like. You can get hot, you can get sweaty, you can feel cold, but it completely lights up your entire physical being, and then all of the other layers that extend out beyond the physical, because there's many layers that extend out beyond our physical body. You can tell when you walk up to somebody and you get too close to them, how you instantly want to pull back a little bit. It's because they've entered your space. Mm-hmm. And the Kundalini energy works the physical body, and it radiates out and extends out beyond into all these other bodies, keeping it healthy, vital, strong, and alive.
On a side note, like how important is it, do you feel then, to prepare the energetic and physical body then to be able to handle this activation? Is that part of the practices that are involved?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that question, because it is very important to prepare the mind and the body, actually. And the best way to do that is strengthening your nervous system. Mm-hmm. Because when you have a strong nervous system, the Kundalini energy is able to navigate its way through in a healthy manner that creates more strength and connects more neurons and brings higher intelligence and elevates the consciousness. And so a lot of the Kundalini practices are to help strengthen your nervous system. Strong nervous system, great Kundalini energy to navigate through the body, and you have a beautiful experience of life. So it's more, I would say, an internal strength that's necessary to build in order to be able to run the Kundalini energy in a healthy way that's safe and productive.
Yeah, because if you put too much energy into a outlet or front or into a lamp that isn't ready for that kind of voltage, you could almost blow it out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So to be mindful that these, I mean, and enticed by the fact that these practices are super powerful, and there is such an offering in building that internal strength and internal power for how it can expand into your life and empower your life. I also know from experience that if the kunda is not strong, if your vessel is not strong enough, um, and like you said, it's not necessarily like how many push-ups can I do and can I do handstands and that certain back bend and can I do firefly, and I mean those are all awesome and they're beautiful and they have their place. It's do I leave my yoga mat and walk out the door and flick off the first person who cuts me off in my car? Like, might need to think about where's my yoga? Where is my, how strong is my nervous system? Do I still get totally triggered by the next phone call from my partner or something, right? And I love that, it really, what you offer really approaches looking at it from that kind of holistic mindset of, like, oh wow, my yoga actually attains to my whole life, not like just when I'm on my mat, right? So, what do you feel, so someone is, say, presented with a stressful situation, that they have these practices that they're doing or not doing, but what can you do when you're in a conflicted or stressful state to have an effect? For those who are listening, what's something they can walk away with today to understand?
Beautiful. Yeah. And thank you for bringing in the holistic component, Courtney, because it's my passion. I think a lot of us, especially in the West, and I know myself when I lived in New York, my strength was my body for a while. I'd get it healthy and strong, and then I'd immerse myself in, going to college and strengthen the mind and forget about the body. And now it's this holistic approach, like you're saying, the importance of balancing our body, our mind, and our consciousness or our spiritual connection or whatever you want to call that. And knowing that it's not always going to be in perfect harmony and balance, but can we cultivate awareness to know when, ooh, I am a little bit out of balance. Ooh, why did I just flip off the first guy that cut me off? Right? Mm-hmm. And like you said, yoga's not just on the mat. Yoga's a lifestyle. And yoga to me really is about cultivating awareness. And the more aware we are in our moment to moment experience of life, the more fulfilling, the more nourishing, the more magical our experience will be. And the more beautiful our relationships are going to be with not only ourselves, but with others. And how do we become more aware? It's through yoga, it's through meditation, it's when you're in your yoga practice and you're in a hard pose that's pushing you to the edge, are you able to watch the mind and what the mind is telling you? And are you able to, instead of listening to the mind and being led by the mind, can you instead just observe thoughts, see that it's happening, and come back to the breath? Mm-hmm. And breathe your way through it, because the breath is the most powerful tool that we are given to change our state. And we forget. I mean, so many of us go through our day-to-day life and we're barely breathing. We're breathing right into here. Like, so many of us don't even take it all the way into our belly and fully feel that breath igniting all the cells in our body and bringing that vitality, that nourishment to our entire experience. On a moment-to-moment basis, Courtney. I mean, anyway. So.
Well, and just to comment on that real quick, because I do feel that there's a lot of people that, and from my experience with my students too, that if they were to actually go down there, there's the vulnerability, there's a fear, there's often, I don't know that part of myself, or I do know what it is like down there, and I don't want to dig through that yet. So, that in itself can create a different anxiety about entering that zone. I don't want to get off of where we were going, but maybe after you talk about something you can do when you're stressed or in a stressful state, it's also what do you say to somebody who even has fear about going into that space?
Perfect. So the stressful state, and we all know the stressful states, it's when we're angry, it's when we're feeling anxiety, it's when we're feeling depression, judgment, resentment, when we're in any of those that's what I call a stressful state. Mm-hmm. There's a triangle that I like to always use: the mind, the breath, and the kundalini. And our mind is a constant indicator telling us what state of consciousness we're in. Mm-hmm. So the mind is going to tell you, I'm feeling angry right now. The mind is going to say, I'm feeling anxious right now. So the first thing we need to do is become aware of what is the mind telling us? What is our state? Are we in a stressful state? Mm-hmm. Once we determine what state we're in, and it sounds like such an easy thing to do, and yet it's very difficult because a lot of us have a hard time truly acknowledging our reality. We want to pretend like we're happy. We want to pretend that we're not affected by external circumstances and it's not stressing me out. And so we put on this front of, no, I'm okay. No, I'm happy. No, everything's good. Right. When really what's happening inside is agitation, fear, frustration. So the first piece is, can I listen to what's truly happening inside of me and acknowledge it? Can I say, okay, this is what I'm feeling? You don't have to say it to anybody but yourself. To just be authentic with what's actually happening inside you. Yeah. And once you say, okay, Catherine, you're in a stressful state, what are you going to do? Right. Because it's not healthy for us to stay in a stressful state, and we have the tools to get out of it. So we're in the mind, we've determined what state we're in, and now we're going to tap into the breath, because the breath is the state changer. It's literally what you can do in a second that will change your state. And I'm going to guide you through a little meditation actually at the end of this, hopefully, if we have time. Yeah. And this meditation is specifically to take you from a stressful state into a beautiful state. And it's 3 minutes. Okay. So awesome. People can't say they don't have time. You could do it while you're at work. You could go in the bathroom and do it. But all it's basically doing is becoming aware of our state and then tuning into the breath and deepening the breath. Because when our breath is shallow, it's a physical thing. If our breath is shallow, it's not nourishing the body in a way that can calm it and open it up and help to relax it. Mm-hmm. And so we deepen the breath into the belly, as far into the belly as we can. We do 8 long, deep breaths. Amazing the shift that'll take place when you just do 8 long, deep breaths. Mm-hmm. And it sounds so simple, Courtney, and it is so simple, but a lot of us resist it. The mind is in such control that it says, I don't want to do this, it's not going to work, this is stupid, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. But please just try it. 8 long, deep breaths will change your state. It'll calm you down. It'll calm the thoughts down in the mind. And it starts to shift from the stressful state, bringing you back into a beautiful state. Once you do the 8 long, deep breaths, then I'll invite you to just connect to, in this meditation in particular, it's a golden flame of light. Mm-hmm. But whatever works for you, it could be just maybe you go to church every Sunday and your divine or your connection is Jesus, or maybe you don't do any kind of spiritual practice, but you connect to the universe or nature. Whatever gives you that sense of connection, where when you think about it, it literally brings you kind of a sense of peace, a sense of calm. That's what that golden flame represents. Mm. And so we invite that energy, that feeling into our entire being. And you've just gone from a stressful state into a beautiful state.
Mm. And that, I feel like, kind of answers the other question. Like if I am nervous about going there, it's then knowing that I'm going to choose to be invoking that state of peace and calm, to then observe from that state versus, I even know just after having gone through, having a baby recently and stuff, my entire energy, there's been a huge energy shift. And the first times I started to really sit back down to do my breathing practices, there was a lot going on in there, right? There was a lot of, there was anticipation, excitement, anxiety, grief. All these things were in there. And simply by going into my breathing, I experienced all of it. And it reminded me of, like you're saying, of the power of the breath. Like, simply by shifting my breathing and really tuning in, and not just, okay, I did my breathing and now I was waiting, I did my breathing, check, now I have to go do my other stuff, right? Which can happen. It's like really sinking into it and letting yourself experience it. It's you can give a big gift to yourself to really staying tuned in to, that's going underneath. So that's why I've been a little more jumpy with my husband, right? Because if this is sitting inside of me and when I tap in, that's in there, well, then that makes sense of why I'm acting this way out externally a lot of the time. So that's cool. So when, you brought up the word meditation, right? So I know that that's a huge part of your practice as well. So you have the breath work, you have the different kriyas, you have different visualizations and movements that you do in order to provoke invoke certain energies for, especially if you do certain practices, right, creating a very specific desired outcome, right? Like there's a technology, there's a methodology in these practices, and if you do them A, B, and C, over time it's been pretty tested that you can get a certain result. Now, we are all coming from different places and things, so they can look a little different at different times. And yet I do know that also there's different methods of meditation. Can you talk a little bit about your viewpoint on the importance of meditation in someone's life, and also the approach, maybe the method, the approach in the style that you teach?
I'd love to. Meditation for me is a game changer. I can't imagine living without it now. And prior to, bringing it into my life, I was petrified of meditation because I had this concept that I wasn't going to be able to do it. What's going to happen to my mind? There was fear around it because I didn't understand it. I think a lot of us have a misconception around what's going to happen when we meditate. A lot of us think you're going to close your eyes, you're going to sit in this pose, and your mind's going to become blank. And what I tell people is it's actually the complete opposite. When you sit and get quiet and close your eyes, the mind becomes very loud, because how often is it that you sit and do nothing? We are all so busy. We're on our electronics, we're engaged in conversation, we're working, we're taking care of our children. The only time that we stop is to lay down and go to sleep. And even then, depending on how you do going to bed at night, but some of us fall asleep right away. And others of us may have the experience of, wow, my mind is really active. Well, there you have it. When you close your eyes to do a meditation, know that you're gonna start building a relationship with the mind and the thought. And the problem what causes conflict and challenge and stress for us is that we are the thoughts. We think that the thoughts are directing and guiding our experience of life, when in reality, when you meditate, the goal, I would say, is can I close my eyes and drop into a meditation and observe the thoughts as they come and go, and just watch them come and go instead of letting them take me off into a story of the past or the future. Because the mind was created to think, but the mind will always take you into the past or the future unless you're doing something in the present, logistical, aren't engaged. The mind's going to take you into the past or the future. Mm-hmm. And so when we meditate, it literally is an opportunity for us to become the observer of the thoughts. Can I just watch? I like to tell people there's a cloud, like a cartoon bubble, right in front of your forehead. And when you close your eyes, you're looking at this cloud right here, and you see the thought come in as you're meditating. Oh, I'm going to go meet my friends tonight for dinner. We're going to go to blah, blah, blah. And instead of letting it continue on, can you have that pause where you go, oh my gosh, there I am thinking, let me come back to my breath. And you go back to the breath and you start focusing on the breath. And when I say focus on the breath, it's literally, can I feel the cool air going in through the nostrils? Can I feel my belly expand on the inhalation? Can I feel the warm air as it exits the nostrils? The more engaged you can keep the mind in what's happening to the physical body, the less it's going to take you into the mind and into the thoughts. Mm-hmm. And the more you're meditating. Because that's keeping you in the present, right? Meditation is to keep you in the present.
And it's like such I almost think of it as like mental weightlifting, like building up that capacity and that strength. Like every time that thought comes in and I go, oh, I see it, I come back. It's like doing one rep of a bicep curl. And then you're like, oh, another rep. And then over time you build up the capacity to just, have that internal strength that suddenly you go, oh my gosh, I didn't think for a moment, right? And then you're like, wait, I just thought about that.
but you had the pause.
Right. Oh, that's so awesome. And,
yeah. I just want to say, I love that you use the analogy of building a new muscle because that's exactly what it is. And so for people that don't meditate, I tell them, take out your trusty smartphone. First thing in the morning when you wake up, before you brush your teeth, before you get out of bed, just sit up in bed, prop a pillow behind you, and set your timer on here for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Yeah. Close your eyes and just see if you can sit and breathe for 2 minutes. And you know what? For the first week, you might never, ever pay attention to your body, to the breath coming in or the belly expanding. All you might be doing is listening to their thoughts, Your mind just might be thinking the entire time. But then one of those days, you're going to have the aha moment that you just spoke about where you go, oh my gosh, that was it. It's just a second. And once you have that experience, that's all you need. And the next thing you'll be setting your timer for 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just 2 minutes. But just try the 2 minutes.
That's a wonderful tip to start small because if you were wanting to do a marathon, you wouldn't go out and run 26 without having walk, run, and then run a little more, and then run a little more inside of the walk, and then eventually you're running 3 miles, and then you're like, oh, I'm running 3 miles, right? And you're building up that capacity to handle it, right? And to be in it and actually enjoy it, right? Like one day you kind of go, I actually enjoyed that, right? And I touched something about inside myself that I forgot was there, right? And and you get to taste it again, and then like you're saying, you have that moment. And I know for myself, when I have that moment, I go, there it is, right?
Yeah.
And if I could be running my life from there, woo, yeah,
And that's my passion, Courtney, is to get people to have their experience. Like, we live by so many concepts and conditionings and belief systems, and we're just kind of robots going through the motions.
mm-hmm.
And my passion is, can I give you an experience of meditation? Can I give you an experience of yoga where you, instead of picking up your mat every day because that's what you're supposed to do, and instead you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, I can't wait to get on the mat and pick up this body temple and give it what it needs in order to be the best that it can be every day. Mm-hmm. So you're coming from experience of wanting an experience as opposed to the mind telling you this is what you're supposed to be doing. So.
Yeah, it's also like, it sounds to me, it's like creating a habit of it, in the sense of like being addicted to that which is really healthy for you. Like like shifting the habits over into that groove of what's going to help me be more connected to me at my deepest level. Yeah. Well, speaking of experiencing, I'd love for you to take us through that experience.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just sit comfortably. You can either sit cross-legged, which we call easy pose, on the floor in a chair, or you can sit in a chair with your feet planted on the earth. Just close the eyes. And feel your sit bones on whatever it is that you're sitting on. Feel your feet connected to the earth. And if it feels comfortable, put both your hands on your thighs, palms face up. And just start to relax the physical body. Relax your jaw. Relax your eye sockets, your scalp, your shoulders, and especially the lower part of your body. I want you to feel it get really heavy. You're just fully surrendering the lower part of the body. And now visualizing a beautiful golden thread that's going to come up through the tailbone. And this golden thread is very vital. It has a lot of energy that's soft, nurturing, but strong and powerful. And this golden thread slowly working its way up the spine, gently, softly lifting your chest, slightly lifting the chin, and the golden thread continues to move, working its way out through the crown of the head, ever so gently and lovingly straightening the upper body, opening the heart space, and bringing just a slight smile on your face. You feel peace. And from here, we're going to take 8 long, deep breaths. We're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So take a deep breath in and exhale through the mouth. And again, exhale. Again, release. again. And one more time, big breath in and letting it out through the mouth. And now I just want you to become aware of the thoughts. You're not trying to change them or stop them. I just want you to see, are they taking you into the past or into the future? No judgment, no resistance, just past or future. And now bring a golden flame of light right between your eyebrows. And visualize a golden flame of light. If you can't visualize, then just feel a golden flame of light right between the eyebrows. And this golden flame of light is pure presence. It's your higher self. It's higher consciousness, supreme intelligence. And as you continue with the breath, visualize or feel that golden flame of light slowly begin to move from the center of the eyebrows right into the middle of the brain. And we're going to take one deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Big breath in. Let it out. And when you're ready, you can gently come back to the space.
That was awesome. That is that peaceful, calm state. It's kind of a state that no words are needed.
I love to imagine the world if we were all coming from this peaceful state. My teacher says the external world's a reflection of our inner world, and the more each one of us can contribute to the collective by taking ourselves from a stressful state into a beautiful state, the better the world's going to be. So that's the intention.
Totally. Tending to that inner world so that the outer world can be an extension of that. It's so wonderful. Thank you so much, Catherine. You are just so wonderful, and I would love for people to know how to learn more about you. And right now, I know that Catherine, she's doing a ton of retreats right now. So this summer, there are not, but you are doing some private coaching, correct?
I am. I do one-on-one sessions, and it's a 50-minute session that I do on Zoom. So it's video, so we see each other.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so it's virtual, so people can do it from anywhere.
You can do it from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I send you a little questionnaire to kind of get a pulse as to where you're at and what it is that you're struggling with. Is it the mind? Is it the body? Is it consciousness? Yeah. And then we the 50-minute session will hone in on really becoming aware and authentically embracing where you're at. And my part is to help you figure out what your vision is, where you want to go, and then we're going to bridge that gap. And I'm going to give you the tools and techniques and ways in which you can do that.
So do you have like a practice of some sort, you mean? Cool.
Yeah, I do kind of like a personal prescription.
Yeah.
It might be a meditation, it might be a Kundalini Kriya.
Yeah.
It just depends on the person and what they need. So
do it, everyone. Do it. So how can they contact you?
My website is catherineschwenka.com. I'm going to spell it because it's a long name. It's CATHERINE. And then my last name is Scherwenka, SCHERWENKA.com.
Yeah, and that's in the information too that we are offering, and then online, so that they'll be able to go just click over there to find you too.
And I think this summer I'll be doing a couple 2-day courses called The Power of the Beautiful State around the United States. So that'll be on my website.
Okay, cool. So they can actually maybe come see you in person somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Well, this has been so awesome. Go check her out, and thank you so much, Catherine, for being with us and blessing us with your presence and your wisdom and your love.
Thanks for doing what you're doing, Court.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
It's needed, and I'm really grateful. Thank you.
My pleasure. I get to just talk to these awesome people and share it, and it's so cool. So thank you. Yeah, blessings.
Thank you.